Now, congratulations on surviving 365 days in China. The next question is, will you continue that quest or not? Welcome back to Soul Quest. Today, we're going to talk about what happens before contract renewal and after contract renewal and what to expect out of it. Alright, welcome back, adventurers. For new viewers out there, my name is Soul Quest and I've been living and working in China for about 6 years so far. As you can see here, I even brought myself a mosquito repellent because right now it is summer. And with summer coming, that means there's more mosquito, more gnats all around the places. And if you'd like to know more wisdom on how to live and survive out here in China, ESL related, or either some niche travel video, click on the 3 button down below, comment, like, or either subscribe. Because these 3 buttons are the only type of food that we all consume. My boys Vivi, Fafa, and I, we sustain ourselves by these 3 buttons and we can live another day. If you click on any of the 3 buttons down below, we greatly appreciate it and we can continue on to the video. Now, the quick answer to the whole contract renewal process is that once the contract ends, you're gonna renew the contract. But I think around 1 month, depending on how organized the company is, they're gonna notify you whether if you'd like to renew the contract or not. But this is actually a trap because you have to actually negotiate 2 months or up to 3 months before that, depending on which city you are in, because the competition is high. Time is not always on your side because every one of these process takes a long time. It's mostly like a cat and mouse game, so make sure you know and you prepare and know what you're doing and have many stories and experience up ahead. If you'd like to listen to that and know more about it, continue on to the video. So what does a typical contract look like for an ESL teacher in China? Now, basically, when it comes to an ESL contract, it's about 365 days, 1-year contract, or either a 2-year contract. But the most common one is a 1-year contract. And 1 month in prior before your contract ends, your company would actually notify you to see whether if you want to renew it or not. And typically people would love to renew the contract if the company is great, but if not, they would often opt out and go with another new company. Now, when it comes to contract renewal, things can be a bit iffy just because it is going to be nerve-wracking. People are feeling uncomfortable since they're not really used to having a negotiation of their contract, and people usually have a planned out system for them. Although some mainstream training center do have a plan for them, but when it comes to a regular company in China, you kind of have to negotiate for yourself. Always look out what's best for you. You are always number one. Company would always give out the best offer for them, but try to know what your worth is. Try to find what your market price is by negotiating. So on your very first year in China, you're actually gonna get lowballed so hard, so your pay is really low comparison to what the market price is. On your second year, this is where you actually bump your pay grade into the normal industry standard or somewhat even lower than that if you think you don't really qualify for the industry standard pay. But in my opinion, try to get as high as you can and find the causes why they should increase your raise. But that is the gist of what ESL contract would be like in China. But yeah, the gist of it, same amount of work, but with higher pay on the very second year because more experience equal more growth. Now, for our very first core subject, what happens before you have the renegotiation? Now, typically company would often try to contact you 1 month prior, but in some scrupulous company, they would try to contact you 3 weeks or perhaps 2 weeks before your contract expires. Either they know what they're doing or either they're just disorganized. But the industry standard is 1 month before your contract expires. But it's up to you to actually negotiate before that certain time. Now, we both understand that time is the most important thing. So on today's video, we're going to mainly focus on pre-negotiation, when negotiation, and after negotiation, and what should you do and what should you prepare before each one of these subjects. Now, the first one is pre-negotiation, and that is why should you actually contact your company 2 to 3 months before your contract ends instead of 1 month. Now, the main reason why is because time equals leverage. Now, with these times, there are 3 things that you can probably do. The first one is actually find better option for yourself. Now, the second one is political tension or either the distance between your hometown and also China. And the last one is time for you to choose what is the best decision for you, and also having the time to actually negotiate well without having too much of a rush or either emotional damage. Let's move on to our very first sub-subject, and that is why should you actually hold an interview with another company before actually renewing your contract with your current company. The first reason why is because more interview means more worth. And when it comes to the ESL industry in China, they are actually quite small. Each province in China actually have a handful of industry that schools or either training center trust, because it's really hard to get the trust of these public school or the private school or training center, because they have to find the right one. They have to have the qualification accepted by the Public Education Bureau, etc. like that. It's a whole shenanigan, a whole deal and whole dance. And having to directly hire is actually a risk for the training center or either the school as well, because the whole shenanigans of the paperwork and all that annoying things. So this is why school often trusts these third-party company. And these third-party company, like I mentioned earlier, there's only a handful of them and they all talk to each other. Once you already have an interview with another company, they would actually contact the other company saying like, hey, how's this guy? Is this guy good or not? Whatever. And they give you an offer to you. Although they don't really discuss the offer because, of course, they would like to collect the teacher that has the best experience for their company. But the thing is, your company would probably already know like, hey, this other company already accepted him. So therefore, you do have some sort of worth and we should give him a better raise comparison to every other second year out there. Now, when it comes to first year in the ESL training industry, they are actually underpaid, way underpaid, because the thing is, the company is taking a risk on you in case if they give you a bad reputation or either you don't do well in school, and they have to pay for your flight ticket, documentation, etc. just like that. Therefore, understandably, your pay wage is low. But if you can prove yourself on your second year that you actually do well in your school, then you should actually get the industry standard wage, because there's no other risk that the company is actually taking for you. And this is why you should actually try your best to get to the cap market price as soon as possible. Now let's move on to the second sub-subject that annoys most expat, and that is documentation. Now when it comes to documentation in China, oh, it is a whole rabbit hole. Like I tried to do it myself, but I just couldn't figure out why. This is why I actually go join a third-party company, because they take care of all the shenanigan and all the business. Because when it comes to laws in China, they could just change in the snap overnight and you don't really know whether you missed something or either you have something or have something that they need and you have to do it now. Now, this is why you should actually start your whole negotiation process early. Not only that you have to negotiate with another company or with your company, but you actually have to take into consideration the documentation time as well. Typically, to have your visa process is about 7 up to 10 business days. So that's approximately 2 weeks, because business days is from Monday all the way to Friday. It doesn't count Saturday and Sunday, which people get it wrong all the time. But sometimes there are something wrong with diplomatic issue or either logistic, and it could actually extend up to 20 business days. Now, talking about logistical issue and diplomatic issues, I do have a story for you, and that is whenever I was trying to join my second company. And at this time, I remember good old Texas was having their old paranoid about China and saying that Chinese people were spying on them. And back then I have to get my TFL and also other documentation re-authenticated. And in order to do that, I have to get an embassy from China, an embassy back in Texas to stamp everything out. But the thing is, at that time, Texas had a problem with China and they actually kicked out the diplomat from China. And it was a whole shebang and whole shenanigan. Actually, because of that, my school was delayed by 2 months and it was horrible. And at that time, I couldn't get my documentation finished and I was just bankrupt the whole time. And this is why you should have a leeway time for you to finish all the processes so you don't end up the same situation as I did, where I only have 7 kwai left in my bank. So try to start your documentation early, or force your company to start your documentation early. A second story that I had is my close friend, let's just call him Mr. I told him to start his documentation early and have the company started early, because it takes 7 up to 10 business days. And as we all know, summer is coming soon, which means we can go back to our good old hometown and eat some good food. But the thing is, the company actually have a bit of a problem when it comes to the new processes in Shenzhen, because I think there is a new process where you have to get authenticated by the Educational Bureau. I don't know the detail about it, but I just know the rough details. But this actually caused the company to not know when the documentation will be finished. Therefore, he's not sure when he's going to get his passport back, and he has to go fly back to his hometown in about approximately 3 weeks. And if it doesn't come by then, that is just all gonna go down the drain because he has to cancel his ticket because you can't really fly out of China without your passport, right? So yeah, the main gist of the story is that try to get your documentation early, process it early. If the company said, hey, it's fine, it's just gonna be 5 to 7 business days. No, try to do it early because just expect it to be 20 business days. And that's just the way my mindset worked because you're never gonna know what's gonna happen out here in China. And the last reason why you should actually start 2-3 months early for your pre-negotiation is that you have time to choose what your next path will be. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you actually have an interview with another company and see what their offers are and actually kind of choose out which option is the best for you. Sometimes staying in your own company will be the best option just because it is more relaxing, same school, same curriculum, less stress. Because once you go into a new school, you're gonna have to start a new curriculum, new set of ways. Maybe you have office hour, maybe you don't, etc. like that, although the pay might be higher. It is up to you to negotiate with your company to see what is the best option. Should you go for another company or stay the company? And having more time means you have more time to choose either to leave your company or either go to the company. And trust me when I say this, it does take a whole mental toll on you just to choose whether you want to stay or go, because having to switch to another company is actually having a new life as well, because this will dictate the next 365 days of your life. You don't want to be in the middle of a situation where you actually have only one night to choose what your next life will be. Finally, let's move on to the main meat of the video, and that is the negotiation phase. This right here is the most nerve-wracking for a lot of first year out there because it can get a bit iffy and a bit uncomfortable. And within this negotiation phase, there are actually 3 sub-phases. The first one is, of course, the negotiation phase where you actually negotiate with the company and see what their offer are. The second one is the last offer stage where the company gives you their very, very last offer and what they're willing to pay for your worth. And the last one is the signing phase where you actually sign the contract, get the thing done, and feel a bit relieved. And trust me, living here for quite a while, understanding these 3 sub-phases will actually lower your cortisol level. As you can see right here, look, I'm having itty bitty hair growing in my forehead now instead of having full-on balding because I start to understand how these phases work. With that in mind, let's move on to the very first sub-phase, and that is the true negotiation phase. Now, first of all, it's up to you. You wanna go for the first punch or have the company go at it in your face first. In my opinion, go have the first punch and see what's up and actually get a better deal. And like I mentioned earlier, you're gonna be the first one to actually contact the company 3 months up to 2 months prior before your contract ends. The company's gonna say, hey, isn't that a bit early? You're gonna say, yes, it is a bit early, but the process is actually quite long. So it's better for me and the company to negotiate early to see whether if this company is the best fit for me, etc. like that. You know, all the corporate talk and stuff. Be polite. Second thing is the company is gonna probably refuse to actually start negotiating, but you have to insist. And it's up to you to actually start the negotiation, and the company will actually give you the offer. But in my opinion, it's best for you to find your own market rate first and then give the first offer to the company. And you can actually offer for more bonuses, more wage, or either some other type of benefit, or perhaps a different school, different work arrangement. But it all depends on you, what you think is the perfect deal for you is like. But for me, I'd like to have less office hour, more free time for myself, and that way I can focus on other things in my life. But some people, of course, they want more money or more wage, more benefits, more bonus, etc. like that. You think about it, you think what's worth for you, and go for it. Give out the first punch to the company. The worst thing that they can probably say is a no and give you another offer. Now, typically these tit and tat would actually go through 3 times, and you're gonna give an offer, they're gonna give an offer, etc. like that. Like a good old ping pong match battle, right? And at the end, they're gonna give out the final offer. And this is where we're gonna go for stage 2 or phase 2. And that is the final negotiation offer. And during this stage, the company would give you the true offer from the company. Now, typically the true offer isn't really the true offer. You kind of have to push it a little bit more. But of course, it all depends on how comfortable you feel with the whole negotiation. And there is time where the negotiation can get a bit iffy, where race can be involved and it could be a bit heated. Try to keep it professional. Don't get angry. Don't take it too hard. This is how it works out here. And sometimes they'll put your nationality in the plate as well, sort of like that. But you have to show the company what your worth to the company is. Again, the company don't really care how well you teach. The company only cares how well your relationship is with the school. Because the thing is, that is how they make money, get a cut out of your paycheck and get a commission out of your paycheck as well. Like I said in every video, try to think yourself as a product. The better product you think you are, the better it benefits the company, because you are a product that the company sell to other school or other training center or perhaps private school, depending on what your current situation is like. And now, congratulations. Let's just say you both finally made a good handshake where both party benefits. No one's actually really sad, and the company feels like it is worth keeping you around. And at this time, you're gonna head out to the signing phase. Now, at this phase, you can actually just look at the contract, the e-contract, make sure it correlates well with the written contract or printed out contract as well, because sometimes they would change a bit of the wording into something else that could actually mean something else as well. And a good example of this, let's just say the company pays 50% of your social insurance, and the whole clause changed once they printed out, saying like the company would pay a dividend of your social insurance, which means they can pay 10%, 5%, 40%, however they like, because it doesn't state what is the true percentage of that. And sometimes that's how company go around on it. I'm just saying this as example, all right? I'm not saying this is true or not or what sort like that, but make sure what you have in the e-contract is the same as the printed contract. They're probably gonna say some sort like, hey, you know, just sign it. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal, depending on how you word it. So make sure everything is the same as it is as negotiated. Now, enough with my whole rant. Let's move on to the very last subject, and that is post-signing. Now, there are two types of branch that you can probably go through. Stay with the company, quit the company. Now, when it comes to quitting the company, again, like I mentioned earlier, during the negotiation phase, it could get a bit fiery. Let's just say you didn't really hold down on your temper and you actually went full on berserk and you kind of cursed the company out, saying like, hey, I am worth more than this, and throws an apple at their face or through the WeChat, you know? But I wouldn't say that's the best way to go for it, because like I mentioned earlier, ESL company here is quite small. They all talk to each other. Let's just say you quit the company. Let's just say the offer didn't go through and you actually just, hey, I'm gonna take another offer from another company. Try to keep it cool, keep it civil, because the thing is, you're gonna need that document to transfer over to another company. If not, then you have to get everything re-authenticated again, which can take up to 2 months or 1 month, depending on how busy the whole bureau is. And when it comes to transferring over all the documentation from the old company to the new company, it literally only takes 5 up to 7 business days. So try to keep it cool with your current company. Don't have any bad blood, keep it professional, because at the end, it's gonna benefit you more than the company. And yes, we all like to actually shout out to our boss or other companies saying like, you know, eat some feces or some sort like that. But that's not professional at all. You're in a different country. Keep it courteous. And as for our last subject, before we continue on, congratulations. Let's just say you made a really good deal and the company actually made a good deal out of it as well, and you decided to stay within the company. How does the process actually look like? You're gonna need 3 documents. The first one of course, your passport. The second one, couple of pictures of you. Some company only need 3 white pictures. Some company needs 3 blue pictures background. But typically you get these pictures from a photo booth. And these photo booths would charge you 60 RMB for a set of 3 pictures, depending on what company needs. So in total, it's about 100 up to 120 RMB, depending on what the photo booth is like as well. And you're gonna need a receipt from the photo booth to see it, to show that this picture is real and authenticated. Without this receipt, the same thing as nothing, and you can't take the picture by yourself, because I tried to save some money as well, took a picture of myself, and they said, hey, you need a receipt for that. And you know what? I ended up going to a photo booth, and they Photoshop the hell out of me and make me look more white. But the point I'm trying to make is you have to go to a photo booth and get a receipt. And the third one is your temporary residence permit. And you get this at your local police station and not the main police station, because each community in Shenzhen or either China in general have their own community police. And once you already get all these 3 documents, and it's off to the processing, takes about 5 up to 7 business days to renew your process with the same company, and you can continue on with your adventure. But yeah, that's all about it with the whole negotiation phase. And there's nothing else to that. And look at that. We are now in window of the world. Oh, looks really cool. Not a lot of people, surprisingly. Well, I think it's because it's the last day of the Dragon Boat Festival. Yeah. In conclusion, try to get yourself 2 to 3 months before your contract ends to actually start the negotiation phase with your company. Because the longer you take to actually start the negotiation, the less leverage you have in order to get yourself a better deal. Because you do need to have another offer from another company before actually having to negotiate with your company to see if you can get a better deal or not. Because the industry in China is actually really small and they all talk to each other. Once you already get interviewed with another company, you are most likely to get another interview for another company, or either your company would actually know that you are getting hired from another company. And by having this, your market rate actually goes up the roof. You want to get as fast as possible to the market cap for your current year. And it's up to you to actually negotiate the best for you. Because once you already reach the market cap for your current year, the only thing you're going to get is more bonuses for your next salary. Try to shoot as high as possible, because the thing is, at the end, the company is going to give their true offer for your current market rate, because they've already invested a lot of money for you to enter China, and they don't really want to waste that money on another first year coming to China. So they would rather keep you instead of getting another person. But of course, don't try to be emotional, because at times they would actually use the race card or either say something a bit hurtful for you. But what you're gonna do is try to keep calm as much as possible, because the less calm you are, the more emotional you are, the less harmonious you are, which means less points for you, less salary for you as well. Try to keep it civil, keep it logical, and try to see what your worth is by thinking yourself as a product for the company and how they can benefit off you. And this way, you kind of get the emotion out of it, and you can get more logic out of the whole situation and get a better offer for yourself as well. But yeah, that's all about it with the whole negotiation phase, and good luck with your negotiation contract. And hopefully it all goes well. If you have any question down below or want to know how to counter a couple of counter offer, comment down below. I'll try to help you as soon as possible. And until next time, SoloQuest logging out. Peace.